Obesity in children. Back in 1963, it was under 5%. Fast forward to 2015, it was almost 25%. What the heck is happening? How is it possible that these little people, that the only thing they want to do is run around, that we have to tackle them to make them eat, are obese? What are we doing wrong? Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat. So for sure, me and mom were doing something wrong because that my little boy, 16 years old, 5'6", he was recently about 200 pounds almost, like in weight. There's a bunch of easy explanations for that. Packaged food, cereals, dessert. My little boy has a sweet tooth, say like that. So he likes sweets. And he's a routine boy. So when you give him something like a special treat, then for him, he's gonna ask him like all over again. So I think we just came to a point where there was like a breakfast cereal in the morning, the healthy kind, I'm gonna put it in quotes. There was like before going to bed, ice cream and cookies and dessert even at lunchtime. So there was a lot of carby junk in his diet.
So here's the unfortunate thing, because like when you describe that, and we have to keep in mind that the son we're talking about has Down syndrome. So then, but I feel like when I hear that's what you're talking about, it does put me in that position of when I'm speaking to people who are trying to manage their children's weight who are under the age of 10, where it's like you're constantly doing this thing where if I give them a healthy thing, they might not eat it. So then you give them what you think they're going to eat. So that goes into the, instead of making eggs for breakfast, I'm giving you cereal because I know you're going to eat it. But would it have been better for you to just go to school hungry? And there's a question mark there, right? Because it's like, of course you don't want your kids being hungry, but at the same time, if I keep giving in to giving you the fun stuff, do we end up now in the habit, as you said, of if I don't give them that, then they're just not going to eat, and then I'm going to freak out. And so therefore, rather than let them live that one day of being hungry, and tomorrow they eat what you put in front of them. And it's tough. It's tough. Maybe you do that on a Saturday when they're not going to school, right? But it's tough.
The thing was with like the son we're talking about is he likes everything. Like he likes every food, and like he has a good appetite. So it's not like it's the sweet stuff, but it's also, I think, like the serving sizes and the coming back for a second serving. And like just for you guys, like Down syndrome kids usually have a good appetite on top of that. So
but then I guess if you're saying it's not a matter of, well,
of
here,
sweet?
no, if it's not a matter of sweet, so hold on, because I want you to I guess I want to go there with you. If you're saying, in fact, it's not a matter of sweet, because if I would have put eggs in front of him, he would have eaten it, then is it really a matter of I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, and my kid's weight is rising and I'm not noticing, I'm not paying attention, I'm not looking, I'm not like help us understand, because if you're saying that's not what it was.
No, it is what it was. It's all of the like the whole thing.
It's all of the above.
Of all of the above. We're not paying attention, I think, enough to his weight rising. It's hard also, like me and his mom or like have different point of views on the food he can have and the food, like what's considered healthy. And on top of that, the last 18 months I think was not good, like in his health situation, because well, he was like stuck home for a little bit, didn't go to school as much, didn't move as much, so his weight just like grows incredibly
Here's a
fast.
question. You're talking about the last 18 months, which we all know what was happening. So I'm wondering, in the last 18 months, like, do you think that there was a change in the diet to the negative that caused maybe some weight gain or some increase or something? I'm just curious.
Maybe yes, maybe no. For sure, like since we've been keto, low carb, we changed because we now know the negative effects of carbs.
Right.
Like we definitely made some efforts like in that regard. There was still some too much dessert, I think, before we realized his weight was way too high. Like I said, me and mom have different point of view of about what's considered healthy. So I don't think like the same effort as we were putting in like together that they were made like at the on the other side. But all of this like we had a better realization when we started doing some blood tests and seeing doctors and having like ultrasounds of his stomach to see if there was some visceral fat there, and then like the doctors rang the little alarm bell, and I think it made us realize that we needed to do something much more than we were doing before. I don't
I
know if
will
it makes
say
sense.
for our other two, so just to put some perspective on
Mhm.
this, the other two had slight weight gain as well, but it was more to do with food. So
Yeah.
so for the other two, especially mine, because she was not out and about as much as she normally would have been, she was actually snacking more.
Mhm.
And then so she had I think she told me she gained 10 pounds. She noticed it, cut the snacking out, and now she's back to normal weight.
Mhm.
The other dude, our other dude as well,
Yeah.
he had a slight increase.
Mhm.
He noticed it, went back
Yeah.
down to his normal eating, and he's back to right.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why I wanted to ask that question,
Mhm.
because I noticed for the other two there was a little bit of like stuff happening,
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
then they quickly
Well,
saw. But
mm,
again, they
at
have
the
a
same
much
time.
better
Yeah.
understanding.
So if some of you wellness warriors are in the same situation, there are some easy things without changing their life, without putting them keto, without putting them carnivore that you can do to help your kids, and that's what we want to like share with you today. So first thing,
Information.
information. Yeah, yeah. Like you mean teach them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Of
Like
course.
I feel
Yeah.
like that was the thing. So we've been saying for the longest time we didn't twist our kids' arms to be
Mm.
keto because we know we put them in this situation. What we have been doing very consistently is teaching them. We make sure that they understand where fruit falls
Yeah.
and what it does to the body. We make sure that they understand, like what's a healthy choice versus, and
Yeah.
like at 16 years old, they for the most part can start to understand those things. Two of them very well, one of them approaching. I think one of the things that we did very important was through showing them ourselves. We are living examples of what happens when you eat properly, and they see it. Kids are smart.
Mm.
It's like mom was well overweight and then she started eating properly, and look at her, and it has not gone away. Like my daughter sees that and it's obvious. And I feel like the boys as well, like I mean one for sure, like we saw that the change happen rather quickly, like my daughter, and now the other one that we're getting on board.
For sure, depending on the age of your kid, like it might be easier or harder to do some changes. But as for mine, even though if it's 16, like we said, he has Down syndrome, he's gonna eat what's in front like of him. Might not be easy in the beginning. So the first thing, for example, I did was cut out all the sugary dessert, and change it in a way that he would have much less carbs in his diet without very like, but for sure, like when you go from an ice cream with a cookie dough and a lot of chocolate and to vanilla, like you can cut out easily like a 20 grams of carbs and more per serving. I reduced the serving, and instead of the two chocolate chip cookies, chewy something, like he has more like a I think it's a 10 grams of carb crackers. So again, like eliminating probably a good 35-40 grams of sugar from that dessert. Was he happy at the beginning? No, he wasn't. But did he end up like liking it? He's a little routine guy. So now like his dessert is that, and it was good.
I want to
uh,
just add to that. You said that you like in the beginning. We need to stop
mm,
this idea that I'm doing what my kids like when I know it's
mm,
not healthy.
mm,
I'm sorry. There's lots of times
mm,
where my daughter absolutely looks at me with daggers, and I'm still doing whatever is better for her, and let her be mad at me, because it's okay for her to be mad at me if it means that she's going to be better, right? And we need to put this idea down that because they're not happy, we have to. No, that's not how this works,
mm,
right? Wellness warriors, think back to when you were a kid. Did your parents always do what made you happy? I know mine didn't.
mm.
Not at all. If they did what was right.
Oh, yeah. The only problem is that they don't know that it's better for them yet. Maybe eventually they'll know.
Well, you know what I think? I'll be honest with you. You said they don't know it's. If mom is willing to stick to this hard, I think on some level, if they don't know it this minute, they know it eventually. we, as you're saying, we're creatures of
Mm.
we would rather have the path of least resistance most of the time. If I'm willing to fight you on this, is probably because on some level, somewhere in me, I believe this is better,
Mm.
right? And if I happen to be wrong, time will play itself out. And if I'm wrong, I'll acknowledge being wrong. But like, we need to err on the side of caution rather than waiting for our kids to be in medical distress before we do what's right, which is the other thing that I see well too often, where because my kid isn't obese, you're a little chubby, I'm not doing anything about it. But can I see that my child is overweight?
Yeah.
Like, if I can see it, I don't need to wait for the doctor to tell me that. I can actually do something about it. But I feel like we need to be proactive in whatever we're going to do to make sure that our kids are okay.
Yeah. Tip number 2, chase out from their diet rice and pasta. That was relatively easy in my case, but replace it with vegetables. Maybe they're gonna not be happy. Oh, I don't like, but there's always something that they like. If they don't like cooked broccoli, for example, like put them raw, like clean them and put them on the table. I know for sure, like the month we were carnivore, I was not cooking as many vegetables as I was before. I was just having a plate of cucumbers, baby tomatoes, and some broccoli in the middle there. But they were happy with that. They like it better raw.
So it's been a long time that I haven't cooked rice or pasta at my home. My daughter has access if she goes to grandma's, different household again. Funny enough, she doesn't go there very often for supper, which is interesting. Like, it's down the road. If she wanted rice, she could go get it. If she wanted pasta, she could, like, it's down the road. I feel like it's interesting that you're saying that, because I don't think our kids care that much to try to get those things at supper. I do feel like for all three of them, it was more the snacks. It's more it's the other things, right? It's the in between of the meals that was getting them, and still will continue to get them, I think, because like we haven't eliminated those things from our house. They still exist. It's more a matter of they're making better choices. And when we're going back to teaching our kids, because this is the age of your kids so matters. It's really frustrating to me to see that there was on the chart 2 to 5 year old and how much that rose in weight gain. When my daughter was 5, so from 2 to 5, she did not like sweet. And it started to change at age 6. I allowed sweet into her life at age 4, but her acceptance of sweet as a thing to eat started around age 6. It took 2 years. Had we listened to them, because I remember you said a similar thing about your little guy. Had we listened to them, they never would have been in the story to begin with. If I would have just continued to feed her the things that she seemed to like that were nowhere near sweet, her life would not be where her food life would not be where it is. And I think that's important for us to take note of. So for everyone who has a young person, like under the age of, I would say probably 4, or well, depending on when you start to feed them sweet, I guess it matters more. But if you have a little kid that you have not introduced sweet to yet, just don't introduce it. Honestly, it took her so long to accept sweet there. Maybe your kid will never accept it. Maybe your kid will just always lean towards, I mean, my nephew can't stand chocolate. I don't even understand how that's a thing, but he can't stand chocolate. Like, some people's palate just doesn't go that direction.
Tip number 3, measure like a serving on a package, a serving versus what we put in our kids' plate. Like half a cup of rice versus what I was like eyeballing for my kids. End up in the plate being 4 servings. So the 30 grams of rice he would have had with his little half cup ended up being like 100 grams of carbs in rice on the plate.
I honestly feel that one of the biggest mistakes we make as a nation, as a North American, like, what we do not pay attention to those serving sizes on the packages. I don't even know, like, are those serving sizes written the way they're written, so small and sometimes convoluted because they don't want us to pay attention to the serving sizes? I don't know. I feel they should be on the front of the package. They would like big red circles around them. This is how much you're supposed, because honestly, if we were, listen, Caribbean, the size of servings that I see my little nieces and nephews eating, the size of servings that were on my daughter's plate when she was 5, 6, 7, craziness. From like, not my house, but my parents, my aunt, when they would put food in front of her, I'd be like, there's no way. right? That's a serving for me. And I feel like there's so many people that get scared that they need to see their kids eating this big heaping helping of food. Their little bodies, like their little tummies are like so small, and we're trying to force feed them. I mean, sometimes kids are eating for hours just trying to get all that food in, but guess what's happening? It's going in their stomach, and then it's going to their intestine, and then they're eating more. They're not really filling up their stomach. Like, it's ridiculous sometimes what we put on kids' plates. And then when they're overeating, we want to put them on a diet.
Tip number 4, I did find interesting when I saw the nutritionist that is helping us: 45 grams or less of carbs per meal. I think that stuck like in my head. I did like that idea. It's not putting them on keto. It's like bringing them to a low carb territory.
If they have 3 meals.
So her idea was that our bodies can manage up to 45 grams of carbs per meal without like storing and like.
Which is not true.
Which is not true. But still, for a kid, I did like the idea of going from probably 300, 400 grams of carbs per day to 140, 145.
Yeah. Can I add something here that I think would be an even better idea to this? But can we do the thing where we stop forcing kids to eat food they don't want? I mean, this is a story that I hear all the time, and it's not just Caribbean. I see it in every society. Like I don't understand this idea we have that children have to finish their plate because some kid somewhere else in the world that doesn't have food. Can we just put down this idea that the kid must finish what's on their plate? You give your kid a reasonable amount of food. Let them eat what they want to eat, and do not give them junk afterwards. And if they're really hungry, they will go back and finish that food. And if they don't want to go back and finish that food, it's because they're not really hungry, and then the junk doesn't need to be there.
Okay, that's the caveat I wanted to put. Like, if they're not eating their plate, to go right after to the cupboard and get a granola bar and cookies, that's not working. Like, you need to.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about parents who were consistently putting, like I said, ridiculous amounts of food on their plate, the kid's plate, and then expecting them to finish it. And they're going to put a ridiculous amount of carbohydrates with a teeny tiny piece of meat.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not what this kid needs to be healthy. And guess what's going to happen? They are going to be hungry later because the amount of protein you actually gave them was not enough. So of course their body's going to go looking for more after, and then you're going to think, oh, I didn't give them enough rice.
Protein and fat, actually. Like, maybe another, if we can add a tip, stop feeding them low fat stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Because like it's just gonna have more carbs and just trigger the hunger.
In the last live that I did, there were 2 different people that said by the age of 10 they had both been on low fat diets. With their parents had put them on low fat diets. That's ridiculous. My child's brain is still growing, and I'm putting them on low fat. What's their brain going to be built with? The things that we don't realize that we're doing that are not positive for our kids.
Another easy one, and actually I was fighting with his mom on that. Stop feeding them juice, orange juice, apple juice, orange juice. They're worse than like a cup of orange juice has more sugar than a cup of soda. Stop feeding them juice.
We are very lucky that our other 2 have figured that out. Both of them, well, they're water machines actually. Yeah. So, but yeah. Actually, at your place, so at your place and at my place, though, he does go for water. Like, I don't even understand if it's a necessary argument, because he loves water.
No, yeah, but it was before. But I think, like I said before, he's a little routine boy. So the little half cup of orange juice is at the breakfast. So he expected to have the breakfast, but he doesn't expect it like throughout the day. So,
or even at my house at all, because we've never having juice.
Bought juice personally, and we haven't bought juice in how many years? Even like when they go to school, it's a bottle of water, and they're fine with that.
And mine, actually, that was her preference from early, I think the beginning of high school. I think another piece of advice that I would give is every junk food counts. So therefore, stop rewarding your kids with junk food. Oh, yeah. Like, one of the mistakes I feel like I see being made all the time is that when there's something tricky that we're trying to get our kid to learn to do, we're going to give them a candy or a piece of chocolate or something. But then we don't realize that now we've created the story where even if it's for 7 or 8 tries, that's 7 or 8 pieces of chocolate that they had that's going to send them chasing. Why can't I reward you with a high five? Why can't I reward you with playing outside? Why can't I reward you? Like, reward them with something better than junk food. We need to put down this idea that sweet is equal to positive. It's not. Sweet is actually potentially very damaging to our young people, like 25% obese right now. It doesn't make sense. We're still using sweet things as treats for our kids.
Well, sweet things in fast food and like
Fast foods.
that's
Oh, we're gonna go out to
another,
dinner
like,
if you.
yeah.
Unless you're taking them out for a steak, that should not be the treat that you're putting in front of them.
So it works. Just changing a few of his habits. We brought him down 8 pounds in 4-6 weeks, and like I saw him this weekend, and I think like the waist size is getting like smaller. So it's doable.
What's important here is that our children can be at a healthy weight without specifically dieting. I want to be very clear on what's happening here in our house. He's not on a diet. What we've done is adjusted the way that we're presenting food to all of the children. So all 3 of our 16-year-olds are being presented to different foods. The only difference that we needed to add with him is that these habits that he had that were more towards higher carbohydrate foods, there have been some adjustments made to those habits. Clearly, we're seeing the results. So for you guys, pay attention to that, because putting your kid on a diet, one of the worst thing that happens when we put our kid on a diet, because it's a diet, we have zero intention of keeping them there. He will eat this way for as long as he's eating with us. He will eat this way because it's a healthy way to eat, right? And we put the same foods in front of all 3 of them. It's not all 5 of us, as a matter of fact, because it's not because he's on a diet. It's we just put him more in line with what we were already doing, right? And more in line with what the other 2 were already doing. So I want to just be clear on that, because he's not on a diet, quote unquote. Everything that he's eating there is actual normal food that he will eat, hopefully, for the rest of his life, and be comfortable and able to manage himself when he's making decisions when we're not standing there.
Totally.
Which we know he did do, because when he was at Grandpa's, he sent us pictures.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And they were on par with what he was supposed to be eating. In the spirit of making better decisions, there's a video on the screen right here that's going to help you to understand how it is the food companies might be pushing us towards doing these poor choices and help you to make better choices. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet.
Wellness Warriors, please share the video, like, subscribe, ring the bell.
Can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.
Talk to you next week.